Hello and welcome to this episode of the Rick Troutner Show. I think this is like the third or fourth episode of the second season or whatever it is. Welcome to the Rick Troutner Show. Welcome to the broadcast. And this is going to be a very special broadcast in that it's going to be no different from the other broadcasts in its scope of planning, in the richness of its content. But what it is going to contain are unfiltered views, possibly opinions, and possibly insights that you can walk away from and do absolutely nothing with. Now, we've talked a lot about different things on this show. I'm sure you're very much aware and have acquainted yourself with. We've talked about technology. We've talked about human relationships. We've talked about a variety of things which most people need more of and need the perspective from someone like me. And not even just someone like me, from me specifically. So I want to say you're welcome to all those people out there that now have been able to absorb this insight. And today, I guess we're going to talk about male-female relationships. Just a little bit. Because I was just having a series of thoughts, and I want to attribute this. I guess this is kind of the acknowledgement section of this show, because no idea is really original. Every idea is repurposed, regurgitated, and plagiarized from other ideas. Very few original ideas exist, and most people will go their entire lives without having an original idea. Now, I'm probably am one of these people. I don't know. But I would like to have original ideas about unoriginal ideas, or at least be able to articulate them in a way that makes sense for me. So we're going to work through some things here. So in the last episode, I believe I called it the Airbnb Chronicles. I went through a series of stories of my experience as an Airbnb manager and dealing with different guests coming in. And the latter portion of it was relating to a individual that was a guest that I had a certain amount of experiences with, that I had some good experiences with, some just spreading some COVID around the room. You know, I'm Febrezing the room in a little bit of COVID. At this point, we've all been exposed to COVID. Wouldn't that be an accurate statement? Some of us have tested positive. Some of us have passed away. But all of us have at least in moderation been exposed to COVID. Now, some of us have caught it and been asymptomatic. Some of us have caught it and been symptomatic. Some of us have caught it and had to have been hospitalized. Some of us have caught it and have passed away. But all of us, if we exist in the world based on the nature of what this virus is, we have just a little bit of COVID in us all. We have just a little bit of it in us all. Some more than others. Some are hoarding some of the COVID, and they should share the COVID a little more evenly. You know, the real issue with why people are getting sick with COVID is because they're selfish people. And their selfishness has promoted them to hoard a large viral load of COVID, and that large viral load has ended up making them sick. And if they just shared that COVID a little more evenly with anyone else, then we would be better off. They probably would have been better off. So it's really about COVID inequality. That is really the problem. If we all just shared the COVID evenly and we all just got a slight little dose of COVID, it would probably be okay. There would probably be a lot less death. So sharing is the name of the game. Sharing is the name of the game. So I'm spreading it around, even though no one else really comes into this room that will be exposed to this, and I haven't tested at all positive or negative for COVID in months. But being that I'm a person who on occasion ventures out into the world and on occasion interacts with other human beings very frequently and very rarely, but it does happen. I would imagine that I've breathed in some COVID particles and I have some COVID particles in my system. But I am not selfish. I do not want to hoard the COVID particles. I would like them to be shared. So I get my little dose of COVID. I go out there, get my little taste of COVID, and then I come back inside. And then I go out there and I get a little bit of COVID and I come back inside. Because that is, in moderation, everything is okay. It's in excess where things become a problem. Where water becomes poisonous. Where benign, what is benign becomes malignant. The benign, everything in moderation is benign, and everything in excess becomes malignant. So this is a free lesson. I wasn't even planning to go over this, but that shouldn't be a surprise based on the amount of planning I put in at all to this show. So the Rick Troutner Show, here we are on another episode, a new day. The sun is blaring outside. It is blaring. It is so hot. It is almost inescapably hot outside. It is almost unbearably hot outside. If there was no air conditioning and no shaded structures, I would be a dead, very, very dead human being, as would many, many people. So there's a lot of things that we give thanks for, and I think what we should give thanks for is air conditioning, because there would be a lot of dead motherfuckers without air conditioning. So thank Christ that we have air conditioning, that we have structures that are relatively safe. You know, not the safest, relatively safe. I mean, as we saw with that Surfside building collapse, not all structures are inherently safe. And actually, none of them are. They just, like, every single structure that you see is fighting literally the weight of the world. A barrage of attacks from the universe, because any structure that is, supporting weight above ground in any sort of way is defying not the laws of nature, but it is defying the nature of entropy throughout the universe. So the bigger the building, the more it's just kind of a big middle finger to gravity and erosion and the natural forces which just want to crush everything down to the surface of Earth and just pulverize it into a fine, fine sand. Because that is the natural order of things. I mean, if you go to the beach, and maybe some of you out there have never been to a beach, but if you watch the passing of the waves, what seems like a very peaceful and zen thing to witness, and if you look closely and you listen closely, you actually start to realize the absolute horror of what is going on. Where you see things that probably had very distinct shapes, that had a whole life of its own, have been eroded and just kind of ground down to the most vanilla in both color and shape of objects. And this is just the natural order of things. So these sharp, large, protruding buildings will, at some point, sooner or later, will be ground down into the earthly dust from whence they came. And this is just a reality that we all should accept. So while that Surfside, the building collapse, is a horrific tragedy, what is actually the silver lining is that doesn't happen all the time. For the amount of buildings that there are that are fighting the forces of nature at all times, that are probably were ill-engineered, ill-constructed, the fact that they are still standing is a testament to human ingenuity working most of the time. The fact that things work most of the time is really is the shocking thing. Like the news shouldn't be breaking news, building collapses. The news every day should be breaking news. No new buildings have collapsed today. No major structures have failed and caused the deaths of dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of people. What a great day for America. But being the pessimistic creatures that we are, we like to focus on the negative. On the negative. Oh, a building fell. Everything's going to shit. What about all those days, like they have at a factory, where it's like how many days since an accident? How many days did we go before that building collapse where nothing fell? Where everything just kind of was okay, for the most part. Every building should have a little clock or a little tracking number in the lobby that says how many days it's been since that building has collapsed. Every single day that building doesn't collapse, that is a triumph. That is a triumph. And that's what we want to highlight on the show. We want to highlight on the good and honest things in the world. The pessimistic news: for every day that someone doesn't get murdered, you should be wearing a little name tag on your shirt that says, I haven't been murdered in so many days. I haven't died in so many days. And thank Christ for that. Thank Allah, thank Buddha, thank Christ, thank whatever the fuck the Jews look up to. Do they look up to anything? I don't even know. But thank all the gods, the sun god, the moon god, the ocean god, the gravity god, that you've gone so many days without being murdered, without having something horrific. Every limb that you have on your body should come with a little sticker that says that you've been able to have those limbs, from your fingers to your arms to your legs to every appendage on your body. It's the fact that you've been able to keep them for as many days as you have. And maybe you already lost it. And that's not the shocking thing. The shocking thing for those that have been amputated, for those that were born without legs or arms or critical body parts, the fact that you were able either to have it or that anybody else was able to have it for a certain amount of time is incredible. The power of sight, the power of hearing, the sense of hearing and sight, the sense of smell, as grotesque as the sense of smell can sometimes turn out to be. Because there are some nasty, rank smells out there. That is for sure. There are times that you wish that you didn't smell, that you did not have the sense of smell. But the fact that you do is a triumph. Every day that you're able to live without some horrific thing happening to you is a triumph. And I think that is the real news. I think we need to step away from all these notions of when something goes wrong. Why don't we celebrate when things go right? Why, instead of on CNN every day since this fucking pandemic, why wasn't it, even just before the pandemic, wasn't there a counter for how many days we went without a pandemic? What about that? But no, we only want to look at the fear and the doom and the gloom and the death. Why don't we have an inverse of any of these channels, where instead of looking at the murders and the car crashes and the horrors, why don't we look at all the days that those things didn't happen? Because there's plenty of days where it's just, for billions of people, where just kind of nothing happened. I mean, so you ask people, hey, how was your day today? And 99% of the time, that question could just be kind of shrugged off and tossed away, because people have such fucking boring days. The days that you go, how was your day? Holy shit, you will not believe what the fuck happened to me, are few and far between. And that should be championed. That should be celebrated. The fact that you can go thousands of days. How was your day? Great, nothing happened. How was your day? Great, nothing happened. How was your day? Great, nothing happened. And the fact that the one day, it's like, how was your day? I got hit by a bus today. I got hit by a bus. I got shanked in an alley. The fact that it's like, oh my God, you will not. And then at that moment, it's like, wow, Jilly Bob, which is what we're going to call this hypothetical person that got shanked in an alley and hit by a truck and bitten by a shark and struck by lightning. Now I would say they're just so unlucky. they just have nothing going for them. It is just so sad to watch someone just get tormented by life. Why does God show no mercy to Jilly Bob? Why does God show no mercy? Well, God was showing plenty of mercy every single day before that, where Jilly Bob was not shanked in an alley, not bitten by a shark, not struck by lightning, and not getting hit by a truck. But no, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to bring up all those times, because then God would seem benevolent. See, that's why probably God is just sitting wherever he's sitting. I don't know if he's sitting up, if he's sitting down. Wouldn't it make more sense for God to be sitting in the center of the earth? I love how heaven is up in the sky, up in freezing, very non-dense. What's the opposite of dense? What is the opposite of dense? I don't know. But sitting up in fucking space. Why wouldn't God be the center of the earth? Why wouldn't God be the earth? Why wouldn't that be kind of the thing? Or the sun, or the center of the universe, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? I mean, some people think the earth is sentient. I don't have any reason to believe that that's not the case. I mean, what is a living being? Something that changes over time, that is able to survive by its own energy, that is able to consume and create and transform its own energy. Well, doesn't the earth fit some of those things? Maybe it doesn't. Does it receive the energy from the sun? Is the center of the earth just cooling? Is just a cooling core of magma? Or is it consuming some kind of protein or substance and generating the massive amount of energy that the earth has? And since everything dies at the end of the day, isn't it just through the process of it being a hot core and molten lava? Isn't that, in essence, it being alive? So it makes more sense for God, or at least a sub-God. There's like the chairman of the board, maybe at the center of the universe, and then the CEO may be the sun, and then one of the the upper managers may be the earth. So Mr. Earth, Mrs. Earth, Mr. Earth, who knows? Maybe it has no gender. Maybe it's a non-binary. It's a non-binary planet that just is the kind of middle manager of its own domain. It manages the affairs. It manages the moon. It's like I got this dead rock just kind of floating around me. It's just floating around, and I'm keeping an eye on it. I got this kind of growth all over me, and I'm keeping an eye on that. It's like psoriasis or something that's on the surface of the earth. And, it's managing. It's managing. And so it makes much more sense for God to be at the center of the earth, the middle manager God. And the chairman of the board is at the middle of the universe. I don't know. Maybe there's levels. There's levels to all of it. So that may be why there are disasters and things like that, because the God at the center of the earth thinks to itself, these motherfuckers are so ungrateful. I give them so many days of just peace and beauty and harmony, and the one day I have to scratch an itch, these motherfuckers want to say I'm just the worst thing ever. That I'm just the worst thing ever. The worst thing to ever happen. How ungrateful. I mean, think of that. How many days go without there being a tsunami? How many days go without there being some kind of terrible storm or earthquake? That things are just like, okay. How many days have we been saying that the west coast of the United States should literally fall off into the ocean because of everything that we look at? That it's on the fault line, that the fault line is moving, that, and it hasn't happened. We have a super volcano in the middle of the country that would wipe out the whole country, and we've gone how many days that it hasn't happened? We're worried about it happening when we're not celebrating the fact that it hasn't happened yet. So we should enjoy all of these days. We should celebrate every single one of these days that it hasn't happened, instead of worrying about the day that it will happen. I mean, sure, it's going to happen. But The fact that it's going to happen doesn't get rid of the fact that it didn't happen for so much time. What the fuck were you doing during all that time that it didn't happen? What were you doing? And this is the question that we need to ask ourselves. Why are we always asking for more? Do we really deserve more? I don't think so. I don't think we deserve more. I think we get exactly what we deserve. And what we've gotten is magnificent. Is truly beautiful. And we're just ungrateful. We are just an ungrateful species of animals that had the unfortunate realization that one day that we die. Would it have been better for us to never realize that we die? For us to just go along with life, just shitting and eating, and then just one day it's all over, and we never saw it coming. We never expected it to come. We were just out there. We were just fucking killing other animals, fucking eating them raw, not even taking the time to cook it and add seasoning to it, just eating that shit raw. And just one day it's all over, and, who fucking cares? See, every other animal on the planet seems to have this whole life thing figured out. Like, they get it. They're like you try to explain death to an animal, they're like, what the fuck, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I'm hungry. I'm sleepy. I'm horny. What are you talking about? Death. Who the fuck cares? Why am I worrying about death? Why am I going to worry about a day where I'm not horny and not hungry and not sleepy? Why am I worrying about that day? When what I have to worry about right now is that I'm hungry, or that I'm sleepy, or that I'm horny, or that I got an itch on my asshole. Why am I going to be worried about the day where I don't have to worry about any of those things? You're a fucking stupid creature. But we split the atom. Why are you splitting atoms? Leave atoms where they should be. But we discovered gravity. Why do I need to discover gravity? Gravity is doing its job just fine. If gravity stopped working one day, then I would start to wonder what the fuck was going on. If somebody flipped the gravity switch off, I would start wondering what is going on. What happened? What changed? But while gravity's doing its job, who cares? But the sun is a nuclear fusion process that's letting off gigatons, gigaterawatts of energy, and one day it's going to die out, and it's going to expand, and it's going to engulf the earth. Why do I care about any of that? It sounds like a good fireworks show. It sounds like something exciting that will happen. And you said that there's death. So why do I even... then I won't even have to worry about that. Why are you worried about those things? What are you doing? Look at that animal over there. I'm going to go kill it. I'm going to go kill it. You can sit here and you can wonder and worry and ponder about all those things and waste the limited amount of time that you have where you could be worrying about fucking and eating and sleeping. And you're worrying about atoms. You can't even see atoms. You can't even see them. They're not in your way. Don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. And the animal, I would have to say, has a point. It has a point. It has a point. And then we're going to go and tell the animal, don't go kill that animal. You could just go to a grocery store. You could use an EBT card to get the food that you need. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? Why wouldn't I just get the food that I want and just eat it? Why am I going to go into a store, go wait in a line, go use some little fucking device, go put my phone number in for some stupid fucking rewards card that gives you a fraction of a penny every time you spend $1? Why am I going to go do all that when I can just go kill that animal over there? Look, while I'm here talking to you, that animal ran away. You're fucked up. Animals must look at human beings and just be like, even like pigs and cows and chickens in a fucking slaughterhouse must look at the human beings and be like, these stupid motherfuckers. These stupid motherfuckers. Look at this guy. Like, they're all just doing what chickens do. So a fascinating thing about chickens, which I learned, is that when you have a farm of chickens, if they get scared too easily, they will all go clump into the corner and they'll all pile up on each other. And this is a problem because as they pile up on each other, the ones at the bottom of the pile end up dying. And as a farmer, each chicken is worth money based on the food and the time and the space that the chicken's taken up. So when these chickens die prematurely, especially if it's an egg farm or whatever it is, you've now lost money on the chickens, which have killed themselves by getting frightened and running into a corner. I don't really have a joke about that. It's just kind of a fascinating discovery that I had when I was on a chicken farm. I love how I said that the show is going to be about male-female relationships. That's actually quite a boring topic, to be honest. I think what we just discussed was a lot more entertaining. I think so. I'm entertained. And I really do this show for me, not for you fuckers out there. If I have to wait for you fuckers and figure out what you're going to be entertained by, I might as well just shoot myself in the face right now. I might as well just go out and, go get shanked in an alley. I might as well. I was recently in a part of town where I saw a particular alley which was the hallmark of a type of alley where you'd get shanked. There's alleys that look like they may be okay, but there's alleys that you look like, and it's like, you know what? That's probably Shank Alley right there. If you're the location scout, if you're a shanker, and you're location scouting for an alley to go shanking, you would look at that alley and you'll be like, yep, that's a good one. That's one of the good ones. Let's put that one on the list. Gonna have to come back at this one at the right time, because that is a good place to do some shanking. That is a good place to do some shanking. There's this video on YouTube where the title of it is Suspicious Roadblock on Highway at Night, or something like that. Let me see if I can pull it up. I love that. Suspicious Roadblock on Highway at Night. Something like that, right? Late night suspicious roadblock. Let's put this over here. Shut up! Shut up! So it goes, and it's this guy, and he's driving down the highway, and this is great. This is a great intro for like a horror film. So he's driving down the highway, and then at some point, so this is back in 2014, he gets up to this part of the highway where there's these cones, and this is some creepy shit. And there's this guy here, and he starts walking up to the car, and this guy pulls over, and then he starts walking that way. And then he's like, and he starts walking up. Now I see him reach for his pocket. And this guy's like, intelligently, is like, nope. No. No, 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 no. So, that's always fun. That's always fun to have happen. And that video is a perfect example of why you should never help out anyone ever. You should never help out. You should never help out a stranger ever. You should just leave them there to die. Because if they're already on the way out, there's no reason to be dragged down with them. If they're there dying, it's for a damn good reason. And there is no reason for you to now be dragged down with them. Why turn one death into two? So this was a couple years ago where I kind of came to this realization. What I really think that I just turned 30 this year. And I was reflecting back on what I really used my 20s for. And I would say what I really used my 20s for was to develop the mental fortitude to know that I don't need anyone or anything. There's just the things that I need. I need food, water, air, shelter, but I don't need anyone to be able to achieve those things. That doesn't mean I won't enter into contractual agreements with people to be able to obtain those things, but it means that at any time I can break that agreement without any hesitation. And this is a powerful thing, because it's a powerful thing to be able to learn, because people will stay in relationships, they'll stay in jobs, they'll stay in situations where they're just generally not happy and think that breaking that agreement is worse than staying in it. And that's almost never the case. It's almost always the case that breaking the agreement and going to do something else will be better. Even if it ends up being worse, it was better that you went and did it because you were able to get a new experience under your belt. And I think that's an important thing to be able to learn. The mental fortitude, and I mean, some can call it confidence, but it's just kind of the wiring of your mind to be able to be like, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. So I'm at a point where I know now I could go get any job. It doesn't really matter. I could be packing boxes. I could be, I could be at the post office. I could be, doing any kind of menial job and then move up, and, the whole rigmarole that people do in jobs where it's like, oh, you keep up, you're going to get promoted, you're going to get a raise, things are going to get better. And you with a lesser mental fortitude, you may be inclined to believe those things, or to think that those things are valuable, that the things that those people are telling you is worthwhile. But in all honesty, fuck what they're saying. Fuck what they're saying. If they were going to do those things, they should do them right now. Anything that's not happening right now in the moment is horseshit. The future hasn't happened. And most likely the future that you think will happen is not going to happen. And if it does, it's going to happen in a different way, and it's going to affect you in a completely different way than anything that you will predict that it will happen. For example, this episode of this show, I thought it was going to go a completely different way. I thought I was going to go on rants about what I thought about the relational dynamic between men and women, and what I've learned from some great comedians like Patrice O'Neal and others, but mainly Patrice O'Neal, because that was like the basis of his brand. And then what I've experienced in nominal experience throughout my life, and kind of the parallels and how some of those kinds of teachings could give you the mental fortitude to just be able to deal with shit. One of the worst things that I think that can happen to you in life is being caught by surprise. Surprises are the worst part of life. Any part of life that is a surprise, that's where it's a problem. Like if you were expecting it to happen and then it happened, well then you should have at least had the opportunity to mentally prepare for it to happen. Like I'm mentally prepared for where I live now in Florida to be underwater at literally any time. For there to be a big enough storm to come here and to just wipe it out. To just wipe this whole place out. And I'm mentally prepared for that. I am mentally prepared for that to happen at any time. It doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon, but at any time that is going to happen. And at that time, I will be like, well, this is one of the things I plan for. It may not happen in my lifetime. I may die before that happens, but I may not. And if it happens while I am still alive, it will not be a surprise to me. Another thing that shouldn't be a surprise to you. Another thing that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. And it's surprising that it is a surprise. That people still get surprised by it. And that it causes such a big problem. It's like, it's a self-delusion. Which we're going to go over actually a couple self-delusions. Which is fucking incredible. Which are fucking incredible that people still put themselves in that delusion. One delusion. That your significant other cheats on you. Right? Now, the fact that that happens to people all the time and they're surprised by it all the time is the more surprising thing. Like, why does that still surprise people? Like, if I ever have a significant other and I get cheated on, my reaction should be, unless I've cloaked myself in some kind of self-delusion, my reaction should be, oh, okay. Or like, oh, finally. Thank God. Thank Christ. And you told me, and I found out, thank Christ. That's good to know. And that reaction should just be because why wouldn't it? It's happened so many times before. I mean, there's no one that should be a surprise to. There's no one on this earth that is in a relationship with someone and then finds out that, or gets told that person cheated on them, that they should be surprised by it. It should just be like a matter of fact, like, oh, okay, good. All right, so that's good. And I'll also pick up eggs from the grocery store because we're out of eggs. Because we need to pick up some eggs. Like, it should be on that level. Like, the amount of shock that you have that your significant other, no matter the amount of time that you've been with them, you could have been with them for a month, for a year, for 10 years, for 100 years. At the point that person cheats on you, you should have the same amount of shock as opening up the fridge, checking the eggs, and being like, I ran out of eggs. There's no more eggs. There's no more milk. We're out of bread. That's the same level of reaction that. Because then what is the response for that? I got to go get more eggs. I got to go get more bread. I got to go get more milk. And how does that reaction translate? Oh, I got to go find someone else. But the problem is that people think that they enter these relationships and that they can turn off the part of them that they were using to go and find that person in the first place. And that is always the mistake. And I've made this mistake before, but I won't make it again. I will not make it again. There was a big part of my life where I wasn't looking for anyone. I'm not even really looking for one now. I'm really just doing experiments because I should have been doing some of this experimenting in my 20s, but I didn't for whatever reason. So I'm doing some of that experimenting now. And with the advent of online dating, you can do it rather frictionlessly. Without friction. Instead of having to go to some stupid bar or work in some stupid office where there's some stupid fucking people that you have to deal with, you can just go online on an app. And I've been on the apps before and had zero success. So I would say this run through of me being on one of these apps has actually yielded the most success in terms of testing shit out. And I'll actually go back to the last episode. So the last episode, I talked about this woman that stayed and was an Airbnb guest, and which I grew some affection for. And then, it was like an affection that was doomed to fail because this person was leaving at the end of a predetermined amount of time. And so then when she left, I was surprised that she contacted me once, and then she didn't contact me again. And this, for some reason, surprised me because I put the same self-delusion that I just said no one should have. It didn't really surprise me. Like, the whole time I was talking myself out of it, like, this shouldn't be shocked. This shouldn't be surprised. It would be surprising if she did contact you. But there was a part of me that was like, hey, maybe she should. Maybe she will, and I'll be surprised. But she didn't. And, since I guess I hadn't been doing the proper testing and building up the mental fortitude of being a hunter of sorts, she was the only one on the roster of people. She was the only team member on the team. And so when that one team member doesn't show up to practice, you're fucked. So I'm like, you know what I need to do? I need to expand my roster. I need to add some new members to the team. So if one member doesn't show up, another one might show up. If that person doesn't show up, there's another one that can show up. And this is where the kind of core truth of this comes in, where and I can only speak from the male perspective, a heterosexual male perspective, that the key to this game, to winning the game, and I guess winning the game is happiness, and I'm pulling this directly from Patrice O'Neal, and because I agree with it, is your own happiness. The key to this game is quantity. Quantity. And while that may seem crass and cold, the only people I'll say that is crass and cold is people that don't want you playing the game properly. People that would like you to, oh shit, they're figuring out the game. Oh, no, that's not good. You can't be doing that. You're a cold son of a bitch to be doing that shit. No. Just practical. I mean, if you're running a business and you're trying to find new customers, the worst thing that you could do is rely on one customer or one client. The best thing that you could do is try to reach as many potential customers at any given time. This is what marketing and advertising is. So this is why when anyone says, oh, why are you such a man whore? Or why are you, talking to so many women at once? It's the same philosophy that goes into running a successful business, which is talking to as many prospects as possible to give you the best chance to land as many clients as possible. All right? And that, if it's true for business, if it's true for making money, which is the quintessential thing in our modern neoliberal capitalist world, to make as much money as possible because there is no God, the only God that there is more fucking money, then it is only fair to say that in dating, in love, and war, the best thing, I mean, for everything else in life, whether it's war, whether it's business, whether, it's quantity. How did the Americans win the World War? It was through sheer quantity. We were able to build more tanks, more ships, more planes, and how were the Soviets able to hold off the Germans? By throwing more fucking bodies at the problem. It wasn't by having the best and prettiest girl at the ball. It was by throwing as many motherfuckers at it until those fuckers died. That's how you win wars. Attrition warfare. Throwing as much as you can at a problem until the problem is gone. But the problem's never gone. Apparently there was never a treaty between the Germans and the Russians. So that war is still going on, which would kind of make sense. I mean, why is there all this Russia problem now? Isn't the war over? Didn't the Soviet Union collapse? Why are we pretending like we're having all these problems with Russia? What the fuck are you talking about? Well, if there was never actually an official treaty at the end of World War II, then it would make sense between those two countries, and with NATO and the alliances and everything, then there is covertly and overtly a war still going on. How did we beat the Soviets? By outspending them. By spending more money on shit until the Soviets went broke. So why in love? Because in love and war. Why in love would the same strategy not apply? Why would it not apply? The truth is that it does. Because then here is where the rubber meets the road. Now here's where we get into the gender dynamics. And this was really where I wanted to get to in this episode, but we need to have a whole little preface. Is it preface or preface? Possibly it's like a tomato problem. But the issue becomes this. In love, females, women, girls can more easily be able to replace a man sexually than your average man can replace a woman sexually. And it's easier because a man will have sex with a woman just because she's a woman. Unless she's an absolute train wreck physically, a man will almost always, maybe not always, definitely not always. I mean, there's times where you're just not feeling it, or you're gay. I mean, it is what it is. That you won't. But 90% of the time, definitely, let's just say a considerable more amount of the time, a man will, if invited, will have sex with a woman easier, and with the woman having less skills than it'll take for a man to go and replace a woman sexually. Now, obviously, for everyone, it differs. Some dudes are chick magnets and can more easily replace a woman than the woman could, but that's rarely the case. So since that's what it is, what men then end up having to do, and what they a lot of times don't do, and what gets them in trouble and puts them in a state of being surprised, is that they were relying on this one. They stopped hunting when they, in their mind, got this one woman. But the truth is that you never get a woman. You have moments. Yeah, like with anything else, you have moments where you're up and moments where you're down. So for a moment, she was with you, and the next moment she wasn't. And what makes it a problem is that for a moment you're with her, and the next moment you're not. Now, I'm not trying to denounce that. Sure, I'm sure plenty of women have had struggles with plenty of men and keeping men and doing that, but that's on my perspective, so I can't speak on that. And that's just the harsh reality. So how you counteract this is to be as tough to pin down as she is. That one moment she may have you, and the next moment someone else may have you. And you can either choose to go with someone else, or you can choose not to. But having that choice is the most important thing. Having choices is the most important thing. This is why you make money. This is why you go out and open as many opportunities as possible, so that you have choices. Choices, choices, choices. And you can always create choices for yourself. And that ends up being how you level the playing field. So if you're out there, man or woman, but obviously this is probably directed more towards men, but if you're out there and you're struggling with one individual person, just realize it's not their fault. It's your fault for not having more choices, for not giving yourself the opportunity to make a choice. Because like owning a cat, you could feed the cat, you could take care of the cat, you could rub the cat, you could love the cat, but at any given moment, that cat's going to go from loving you to wanting to bite and rip your fucking face off. To literally rip the flesh off of your face. And can you blame the cat for that? Or can you just accept the fact that that is the nature of a cat? And that is just part of what cats do. Because the nature of cats aren't going to change. So the only thing that has a chance of changing is your own mental fortitude. Your own ability to adapt to the situation. And by adapting to the situation, we survive. It's the way human beings have always survived. We have survived in many environments, in many dangerous environments all over the world. We've not only survived, we've thrived. We've become the apex predator of the world by being able to adapt to a plethora of situations, of environmental factors, of predators. So if it's the same for survival, if it's the same for war, if it's the same for business, why on earth would it be the same for love? So this is just one of those lessons out there. Don't be taken by surprise. Even the little things. Like I was about to say, the only good surprise is a surprise party. But even that is some fucking bullshit. Because if people are able to plan a surprise party without you knowing, what the fuck else could they do without you knowing? Those sneaky fucks. Those sneaky fucks. So don't even let a motherfucker plan a surprise. That's why some people get... It's like, if you're able to plan a surprise party without me knowing, what the fuck else are you doing without me knowing? What else are you doing? You sneaky motherfucker. So there was a time, I think I was turning 20 or something like that, that my girlfriend at the time and my mother, initiated by my mother, spoke to my girlfriend without me knowing, behind my back, to plan a surprise party for me. And it was many years ago. I don't remember exactly how I figured it out, but I figured it out. And I was proud of the fact that I figured it out. I'm like, you sneaky motherfuckers. You're gonna plan some shit around me for me without me fucking knowing. You motherfuckers. You motherfuckers. I'm watching you. I'm fucking watching you people. What the fuck? So don't let people plan surprises. Surprises are good for no one. They're good if you're just, but if you're a real motherfucker, you don't like surprises. This is why a lot of, manly type men do not like surprises. Because like, if you can surprise me with that, what the fuck else are you going to surprise me with? What are you doing? What are you doing? And it reveals there being a blind spot. And why is that a problem? Like, people like to pretend. See, this is somebody asked me the other day, why people behave in the way that they do. Why are people so cold? Why are people so mean? And what people tend to forget, they're like, they think that there should be all this love and compassion and niceness and hugs and kisses. But what you got to remember is that human beings are the apex predator of the planet. Of the planet. And by becoming the apex predator and being the apex predator of the planet, that tends to come with some baggage. Just a little bit of baggage. So why would it be the case that if we are the apex predator of every other creature on Earth, would we not display some of those kind of qualities when interacting with each other? Which we do, but people get surprised when we do. What the fuck are these people doing in front of that place? Are you blocking my driveway, motherfucker? My God, you are blocking my driveway? Oh, you motherfucker. You motherfucker. What are you doing? So it's amazing that people get surprised when the apex predator of the planet acts like the apex predator of the planet. And why wouldn't there be? And then it's like, oh, there's a few people that are running the world. And what are you people doing in front of here? You're blocking now the other driveway too? You son of a bitch. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. So people are surprised when the apex predator decides to act like an apex predator. Like, how is that surprising? That's why every day that you go without being murdered is an anomaly. The anomaly is not when you get murdered. The anomaly is that you hadn't been murdered yet. That it took that long for you to get murdered. That is the anomaly. This whole civilized society where we deal with transactions through exchanging currency, that is the fucking anomaly. And nowhere else in the animal kingdom do people fucking take out credit cards and, exchange currency. It's just like, I can and will kill you. So I'm going to take you your family, and any of the other shit that you got that I want. That is the normal order of things. So every conspiracy theory, everything that's like, oh, every creepy thing, it's like, that's not the creepy thing. The creepy thing is everything else that happened that's not that. That's not the creepy shit. The creepy shit is the normal shit. That's how everything's fucking reversed. Like how it's not just chaos all the time is fucking incredible. How there's not just people on the highway that you get cut off and you just ram your car into that other car and push them off a fucking bridge. That's what's impressive. Like, you just cut me off on the road and I'm in a 3,000-pound vehicle. I'm going to shove you off the road. I'm going to vehicular murder you. You son of a bitch. These people are really just going to park right in front of the fucking driveway and just kind of hang out there. I don't even need to go anywhere. I have no plans to even go anywhere, and I'm sure if I did, I can go out and be like, hey, fuckface, move your car. But this is the Predator. This is the Predator coming out. And anyone who denounces that they have the Predator, that they're, I'm a good you're not a good person. There is no such thing as a good person. There are just human beings which do shit. Sometimes people do shit which affects no one. Just no one's affected. No one's affected at all. No, there's no effect. And sometimes there's people that do shit that affect fucking everybody. Everybody gets affected. Sometimes for the good. There's good things. There's plenty of good things that people have done by being the apex predator of the fucking planet. But there are some times where it's like, oof. And that's just what it is. That's just what it is. And the sooner that we come to accept that and stop getting surprised and stop being in fear of all the horror, and we just accept the horror for what it is, we can then move on to actually championing and being grateful. Being a little fucking grateful. A little less surprised. A little less fear, and a little more grateful. Wouldn't that be a better place? Wouldn't that be a better world? If we all just accepted each other's inherent danger? If we all just accepted it? I mean, man and woman. There's no apex predator. Apex predator all the same. Anybody has the opportunity. That's clear in the current, very diverse administration that we have. We now have a black Secretary of Defense who is more than happy to fucking do bombs deals and arms deals, with and just blow shit up. You know what I mean? Like it's whether the president's orange or gray or white or black or blue or green or man or woman. The apex predator does not care which mask it wears. The apex predator is a wolf in sheep's clothing, and sometimes a wolf in wolf's clothing, or a human being in human clothing, in a nice fucking suit. In a nice suit. That movie 300 was a lie. All those abs didn't stop Athens from being destroyed. Let's see, 300, the film. Because that's based on, because I think the real life story is they still got fucking wiped out. The battle within the Persian Wars. Greco-Persian War was a series of conflicts that ended in what? That started in 499 BC. So this shit went on for 50 years. It began with this would prove to be the source of much trouble for the Greeks and Persians alike. The tyrant embarked on an expedition to conquer the islands of Naxos with Persian support. However, the expedition was a debacle. And what was the end of it? What was the result? Oh, the Greeks won. Well, that's good. The Greeks were just a little more vicious than the fucking Persians. destroying the rest of the Persian fleet before expelling Persian garrisons from Sestos and Byzantium. Following the Persian withdrawal from Europe and the Greek victory at Mycale, Macedon and the city-states of Ionia regained their independence. The actions of the general... So this is like most of human history, is just some people along the way, they're like, we're going to go take that shit. We're going to go take that shit. And then they try to go take that shit, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. This is the natural order of human history, of animal history, of life. Of life. Because somewhere in the sickness of the divine creation, it was made that part of this whole deal of being life is that you have to consume other life to maintain your own life. And whoever consumes the most is the victor. So, it's quantity, my friends. Quantity. And that concludes today's sermon. Thanks for watching.